Hello everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Spark Notes. Today we are going to be going over Magik. This is a character that I've already covered in the past, but I, uh, against my better judgment, did not write a script, and I did not really have a well thought out planned order of events that I wanted to go over, so the video came out as a little bit jumbled and a little bit longer than it needed to be. So we're going to kind of try and take her back in, explain things in a little bit more simplified way that makes a little bit more sense for those of you that might be watching. So, to start out, we're going to be going over her abilities. The first one is going to be Limbo's Might. It converts damage inflicted on enemies into bonus health. This goes for all sources of damage that Magik might dish out onto an enemy, giving her health up to 400 HP. If we go ahead and use the primary fire Soul Sword, we can go ahead and see that we can stack very, very quickly as long as we're doing damage, and it goes all the way up to 400 like we had talked about before. Super duper good. It's going to be the meat and potatoes of her kit for the most part. It's going to allow her to act as a little bit more of a bruiser that can also have an assassination kind of undertone, and we'll talk about that more in a second. For the next ability, we're going to be talking about her Stepping Disc, which is going to be a teleportation move where she goes in a direction, left, right, forward, back, or like left, back, right, back, etc., etc., etc. You get the point? So, upon doing this, it gives us access to two other abilities, which are going to be the Demon's Rage and the Eldritch Whirl. And now that's going to be with the primary fire and secondary fire buttons after using the ability. So whenever doing this, we'll go over Eldritch Whirl first, the more simpler of the two moves. This move is just a giant spin that does not do a lot of damage, but does build a little bit of shielding based on how many people it hits. So if we go ahead and take a look, we hit one person and we get 266 out of it afterward. And now we'll go ahead and show what it looks like whenever we hit both. We get 282 for hitting multiple people. So as you can see, this is going to be super duper good if you're in a crowd of enemies and you just want to get a lot of HP really, really quick. Not a bad move to be throwing out at all. The next ability is going to be, in my opinion, the better of the two. This is going to be the Demon's Rage, which is going to be an ability that is going to do a lot of damage in the long run. If you dump this on a tank, it's going to do quite a bit of chunks. And if you dump this on a squishy, as you can see, it does pretty serviceable damage pretty quick. We'll go ahead and show it on a full health target. And on a 250 HP character, this will actually kill them, and I believe on a 275 as well, as long as they're standing in it for the full duration. While this will almost never happen, it's a very, very good pairing with things like Wolverine's ultimate, Groot ultimate, and other things that might stun, like Mantis Sleep, Luna Snow Freeze, Penny Parker Web. So really, really good. We'll go ahead and talk about the other application of this move. Going ahead and zoning off doorways. If we place this kind of on the side of the door, when tanks are trying to break through this doorway right here, they are going to have to deal with this demon on the left, as you cannot break it or anything like that. It does not have a health bar as far as I know. It's just going to be free damage and free shielding because it stacks quite a bit over time as long as all of the attacks hit. Super great. Really wonderful ability. The next ability we're going to talk about is going to be called Magic Slash. This is going to be the secondary fire option for Magik. This is going to charge up a blade that you throw, for the most part. It's more of like a slash. Anyway, you charge it up, and upon hitting full charge, it's going to do a lot of damage, and you can let it go early to do less damage, as we will show off here in a second. This is it whenever you get it to about half charge. Not bad damage at all, but we can go ahead and compare it directly to the bot here on the right-hand side here in a moment. So we'll go ahead and charge this all the way up to full. Much more damage. Oh, that's actually a bad showing. Hold on. One second. I forgot that we already damaged this guy. So doing full charge up and throwing it at the enemy is going to do a little bit more. It's not bad damage at all. Go ahead and show that. So with the melee, this is about the same amount. Really wonderful. Awesome. Cool. Crazy good. It's going to be very good for combos, which we will talk about in a second. And the last ability that we're going to talk about before getting into the ultimate is going to be the Umbral Incursion. This is an ability that is a dash that leads into a big knockup. That is going to be super duper great. Combos into a lot of abilities super duper well, doing a lot of damage. We'll go ahead and show the hitbox because this is going to be the most tricky part about this ability. It does take a lot of aiming to get used to. We'll go ahead and show it off. When aiming this ability to the left of a target's shoulder, it's going to miss. 9 times out of 10 it will miss. We'll go ahead and show it. Although we are quite close to the shoulder right here, we just completely clear it. This has to do with the FOV and it being over your right shoulder. Because of this, it's kind of the perception and where we are looking is not always going to be entirely accurate, as we are aiming more so with our right shoulder. Because of this, we want to be looking over their enemy's right shoulder. And as you can see, we can be pretty generous. We'll go ahead and just look all the way over here. and we still get the hit, doing a lot of damage. Wonderful, knocks them in the air, allowing them to just kind of be a sitting duck. Now, we'll go ahead and talk about Darkchild. This ultimate is quite good, but it's also got a little bit of pros and cons to it that we are going to talk about really quick. This ultimate has a very, very long startup and very long ending animation that cannot be canceled, and you can be hurt in as you get no defensive benefit for popping it until you start doing damage. So we'll go ahead and show it off. The things that it helps, it actually buffs all of your abilities, doing more damage, making the cooldowns much lower, and just having different properties. The Eldritch Whirl is going to do more hits, the Demon's going to do more damage, the E is going to do a lot more damage, and it's going to go a little further, I think. And then the Magic Slash is going to do a lot more damage. It's going to be incredibly high damage. We'll go ahead and show it off. As you can see, that is the long animation, and there's the Eldritch Whirl. This is the damage that's going to dish out. It's going to be super great. The basic attack is also empowered, getting a little bit more damage out of that as well, where it's going to do a slash of 3. Showing this off again, we'll go ahead and go over the other abilities, such as the big charge up of the ranged attack, doing almost a full HP bar, and the dash, which is going to do a little bit more than half HP. We'll go ahead and show this off on this guy right here, doing a little bit more than half HP, as that bot was fairly low already. Very, very wonderful, super good, and we'll talk about in a second how you can make this ultimate work for you without dying. So, the Darkchild ultimate, when using it, actually changes the properties of your abilities. Upon entering and leaving Darkchild, your cooldowns all will reset. If I have nothing on the bottom right, as you can see, whenever we transform here in a second, you will notice that all of my cooldowns completely reset no matter how much time is left on them, and we will go ahead and show that off right now. Getting rid of both of our stepping disc, the ranged attack, and the dash. If you look at the bottom right of my screen again, they are all back, allowing us to kind of go in, do a lot of damage until the timer runs out, etc. We dash out. Looking at the bottom right, we leave the animation, and we have all of our kit back yet again. Really wonderful, super duper good thing, and something that a lot of people are going to need to know whenever playing this character. A big piece of advice that I'm going to give to a lot of you. When using Darkchild, this ultimate is not going to be something that you are going to want to go in with the mindset of, I'm going to kill their entire team. It's more of an ultimate that is going to dish out a lot of damage and cause a lot of chaos. You can frag out with it, but it's not always going to be what you're using it for. This ultimate is a very, very good way of baiting out support ultimates, especially in the meta that we live in right now, where 3 supports is in pretty much every game in high elo that we play. So, when using this, we want to consider Darkchild as a point system. If Darkchild is a 6 out of 10 on the priority list, and Luna Snow is a 10 out of 10 on the priority list, using Darkchild to give up that ultimate in turn for forcing an ultimate that is a 10 is going to be very good. Your team can kill Magik when in Darkchild. Your team cannot kill Luna Snow for the most part when in the Luna Snow ult. This is a big deal. So, because of this, popping the ultimate and just running in there, doing a lot of damage. Say this bot is like, oh, I'm Luna Snow, I'm really scared, and they pop the ultimate. We consider this a win. You can do all of your damage, get your HP back, you come to the end of the animation, and you leave. And at this point, the Luna Snow ult is going on, and then they are a little bit frazzled because of how much damage you just dumped. And now your team is able to counteract with their own kits, which is going to be super good. Considering Magik ult in this way is a really, really necessary tool in order to play her well, because oftentimes they will have a support ult, but you are really good at baiting that out and being the first responder to get rid of it, which is great. Or you can use this in a situation where you know they have no cooldown. Say they're playing duo support instead of 3 support. If they have no support ults and you know that, that is whenever this ultimate is going to really shine, and you are going to get a lot of damage out, and you will end up killing people so long as you are mechanically gifted and you are playing around your team pushing forward. Really great ultimate for this reason. I really recommend when people are popping this ultimate, because of the long animation and startup, rather than using it in the middle of a team fight whenever you're fighting, I highly recommend people to dash out of the way and move all the way up here, popping the ultimate so they can reset it, being a little bit of safety, and then dashing back in to do all of the damage, you know, dishing out their share, and then at the end of the ultimate, as we talked about before, leaving because you get all of your cooldowns back, and then you have a lot of options, whether that be diving again or playing around your team. The next thing that we're going to talk about is Magik's combos. A lot of people really go nuts over these things. They are super duper good, but they're not entirely the everything and all things of this kit. You can get a lot of value by not using them, but they're going to help you tremendously in the long run if you incorporate them into your level of play. There are two that come to mind whenever we talk about Magik, one involving the dash and the uppercut, the other involving the Eldritch Whirl and the uppercut. We'll go over the dash first, and you guys can slow this down. I will do this twice, one with me talking and the second without. So for the first one, we are just going to charge up our attack like so, the secondary fire, which is going to be the Magic Slash. Charging this all the way up, doing the dash directly after, and just hitting them with a basic attack right after that is going to kill anything that is 250 HP, which is going to be super great. Showing it in a little bit of a slower thing without my commentary, it's going to look like this whenever dealt faster. Really great. Cool, very awesome, very nice. Next thing that we're going to talk about is going to involve the Eldritch Whirl, and for this particular combo, it's going to require us to kind of go over another piece of Magik's kit. Magik's able to cancel the animation at the very end and kind of get an extra hit out if you use the melee button. For those of you on controller, I believe this is your right stick pressing down. For those of you on mouse and keyboard, I believe it's V, unless you have rebound it to something else. Mine is on the side of my mouse button. So we will go ahead and show it off. So all this is going to be is our primary fire followed up by the melee. Much faster. This gives you a little bit more of a chunk of damage, and it's going to help you build that shielding up as well. So when showing this off, Eldritch Whirl also, you are able to pop the ability, and upon using the uppercut right after the spin starts to go off, you will shoot yourself forward with the momentum carrying the damage with you, and it's going to look a little bit like this. Popping it, doing the uppercut dash into the melee cancel, which is going to be super good. So we'll go ahead and go over this again. This is going to be Eldritch Whirl into the dash, auto attack, melee cancel. The auto attack is the primary fire for those of you confused. Really good. We'll go ahead and show it one more time, and I will without my commentary. Super great. It's going to do less damage because the Eldritch Whirl just does less damage than the slash attack, but this will kill pretty much anything that is a 250 HP target. But with characters that are a little bit more tanky, like Luna Snow, who is 275, you will have to throw in the ranged attack at the end to make sure that they will fall and you can get the kill off. Not too terrible, not a big deal, but just making sure that you all know 275 HP targets will not die to this combo, something I did not cover in the last video. The Eldritch Whirl and melee is going to be super duper good with the dash as well, because when in the ultimate, you are going to be able to shoot yourself out, making a lot of space and making sure that you're able to get that big giant sweeping attack from the basic attack that you have during the ultimate. That's something that I should have covered in the last one that I did not, and I'm very sorry for that, just FYI. The next thing that we're going to talk about is kind of the mindset situation of what you want to be doing when playing Magik. This is a character that is very, very misunderstood in low elo, especially because a lot of people think that she's just a heavy dive character. When you can do that in low elo and mechanics your way up top to the higher ranks, once you hit plat, you're probably going to notice that a lot of people just will not let you do this for free. Comps like Namor and Penny will just be swapped to if you're playing a lot of dive, and if you're really messing up the backline, people will eventually start to adjust and play around you a lot more. Because of this, I cannot recommend enough that you kind of try to play with your tank and build up your passive. Magik is very good at helping pressure tanks in front of her, while maybe not killing them outright. Her damage is a little bit more than that of a regular tank, because you also can go through things like the Magneto shield with your basic, primary fire. Strange shield is the same thing. You're able to do that whilst building your bonus HP. So say a Strange is here playing with me to my right, and he is walking up with the shield, and then their Strange is here, this is him, and then he has his shield up. Our attacks are going through, we're still getting the damage, and we are getting nothing but benefit because we are building up our shielding, which is nice. And because of this, the tank might squirm a little bit because he's still taking damage, and their supports are going to want to move out of the way to kind of help that guy out a little bit more and stop him from taking as much damage. When this happens, this is a really good chance. You want to be very, very open-minded to this thing. While you're hitting the tank, you don't want to necessarily be looking at him per se, but you want to be looking at the backline. Where are the supports moving? Are they moving around and getting uncomfortable? Is somebody on your team making them uncomfortable? When this is happening, Magik is very, very good at just bypassing the tank and just stat checking the support so long as you land the uppercut. So if we go ahead and take a look, dashing out, with that in mind of the tank still being here, we are so fast that we're able to get in, and then upon ending the combo, which we will show here in a second, we are able to just dash back out, and we are able to drop a demon on the tank back again. It's going to be super duper great when pressuring because it's going to allow you to play up with the tank, and even in some situations, if you're playing with the Doctor Strange, them solo tanking cannot be as bad for them because you were playing sort of like a pseudo tank is what we're going to call it for the sake of this video. The next thing that we are going to go over is going to be more of a target priority and who to target whenever you're diving the backline and when to dive the backline if you're playing from behind. We'll go ahead and consider that their tank might be playing here on the 10 meter mark and our tank might be playing here on the 20 meter mark. Let's say in a hypothetical scenario that the tank from the 10 and our tank from the 20 move both into this 15 where they start brawling, but the supports on their enemy team are still here around the back of the 5 meter. When this happens, this is a really good time whenever no eyes are on you or their supports where you can actually move in and kind of start to kill. Whether this be a Hela in the backline, a Hawkeye in the backline, maybe 2 supports, a Jeff the Landshark and the Luna. Prioritizing when to go in is going to be super good here. Waiting for the interaction between your tanks here allows you to go in, and whenever the tank's hearing, oh my god, the supports are being dove, he might turn around, which is going to provide your tank the option to move forward, pressing them out, moving them back, dealing a lot of damage, and the rest of your team to move forward as they make space. This is really, really great. It's super good for situations like this. Now let's talk the big thing, choosing who to dive in these situations. Let's say bot on the right is a Luna Snow, who has 275 HP. Bot on the left is a Cloak and Dagger, who has 250. In this situation, going for the lower HP target will be good. Although Cloak and Dagger does have a way of getting out of this situation when not looking at you, maybe they're not fast enough to react. Luna Snow has 275, so you're going to need that extra second of getting that hit out, whereas the Cloak and Dagger will die to your basic combo, which is going to be super good here unless you're doing the Magic slash combo that we talked about earlier. So for your standard combo, the Eldritch Whirlwind, the easier one to hit, doing it this way, we kill the Cloak and Dagger, and then we get out, and then we can back up. Or maybe our tanks are still pressuring and the other tank has not turned around yet. Instead of dashing out, we can start now pressuring them and then dash out. Or maybe we have our big giant dash, the Umbral Incursion. We have that back, and we can dash back into the safety of our tank and the back line. And then we can go back to, as we said before, pressuring the tank in doing this. Mixing both of these playstyles in matches is going to help you a lot. It's going to keep the enemy guessing on their toes. It allows you to be also not only just a bruiser that can pressure the tank and brawl with the best of them whenever you're doing that because you do a lot of damage. It's also going to allow you to be a gnat in the ear that is going to just kind of be making the supports worry, maybe standing in a little bit less of an optimal spot to heal their tank, where the tank is going to have to play around them more, losing that kind of space, which is going to be super duper good for your team in the long run. Now we are going to talk about some good and bad tank pairings. In my opinion, I consider characters that you're going to be able to play with the safety of good pairings and characters that are going to be diving with you less optimal because you're putting yourself at a lot more risk because you don't have the safety of a Strange, Magneto shield, that type of thing. Characters that are going to be super good for Magik are going to be characters like Hulk. They're going to be characters like Doctor Strange, Magneto, Penny Parker, because you're playing around them. Hulk can dive, but he also has the Gamma Shield, which is going to protect you quite a bit. Magneto has the shield as well as the bubble, allowing you to dive aggressively when calming. Doctor Strange has the big shield and a lot of damage to help walk up whenever you're walking up, making the space for him. Super great. Characters that I don't really like with this character are Thor, because Thor has nothing that can really protect you. He's kind of playing for himself. He's a very selfish pick. Captain America, much of the same, has nothing to really provide you with anything other than his ultimate whenever he has it up. Really not great. And for the most part, that's like my biggest issues. Venom as well. Venom is again, selfish character. You want characters that can help provide things for the team as well as themselves, not just selfish characters like Thor, Cap, Venom that are going to provide a lot for themselves, not so much for the team. Going over pros and cons of this character. In some of the videos that I've talked about, you'll have seen, and especially in the tier list, there are characters that can really make Magik's life hell. Magik gets countered by sharpshooters a lot that she can't not really get close to very easily on maps like the Shibuya map, where there's a lot of long corridors, and the new alley map on, I believe it's New York, where there are a lot of long streets. Magik has a hard time if the sharpshooters are tracking her, making sure that they keep ample distance to make sure that she cannot just dive them for free. Magik also has a lot of problems dealing with characters that have a Sun or a Get Out of Jail Free card, like Cloak and Dagger, Luna Snow, Mantis Sleep, Namor Bubble. These types of things can be really annoying. CC is a really big deterrent for Magik as well, which can cause a lot of problems for her in the long run, as well as characters that can just straight up box her and kick her out of a team fight with a lot of mobility that do a lot of damage at the same time. Another con that we're going to want to talk about is, what if your tank is not playing super duper forward? If your tank is playing a little bit back, for lack of a better term, like a pussy, and they do not want to play forward, they don't want to actually interact with the other tank and play neutral correctly. So say our tank is here on 20 and their tank is here on 10, and our tank is, rather than walking forward, walking backward, Magik gets almost no value. And this is a big issue. If your tank is doing this, you might as well swap. We talked about this every video that we go over the character. Playing up with the tank requires your tank to be sturdy, and they have to be the core of your team, as a tank should. The problem is, if your tank is filled, or maybe they're solo tanking, they're a little bit uncomfortable because of this, and they are backing up, you are required one of two things. Either you swap to full dive mentality, where you give up on your tank because they are clearly not going to be able to do anything because their tank is just making all this space, and you just swap to a dive mentality where you're walking to the back of their back line, playing cover to cover cover, and just diving the supports over and over again, like so. Or you swap. There are not a whole lot of other options that you have here, because the tank needs to be in their face, as we talked about a minute ago. Otherwise, you cannot pressure the tank because there's nothing to pressure. Your tank is not here. You have no help to do so. If you walk up by yourself, you're just dead to rights. You're going to be gunned down. It's over for you, just like that, as if nothing happened the entire time. A lot of pros for the character. As we talked about before, Magik is super duper good at pressuring tanks and staying up with tanks that are able to protect and have team protector abilities like shields and whatnot, because she's able to get her passive stacked up pretty quick, being able to do a lot with that, and then moving forward and diving, which is super great. The problem with this character, however, is in higher elo, as you play and you play against better people, characters like Namor and Penny can be problematic. Good players on these characters are going to shut you down, as well as characters like Squirrel Girl. They are really tough for these matchups. Magik has a lot of good out of the dive and playstyle of playing up with the tank, but it's not going to matter if you cannot really utilize the fact that you cannot always be the all-star player. Sometimes you have to take the back seat, especially if you're one-tricking this character. Matchups that are especially bad are Namor and Penny. For me, those are insta swaps almost always, unless the Namor is like picking grass in the backline or something like that. Characters like Hela, after the nerf, are not as hard to deal with because you can one-shot her now, but other characters like we talked about earlier, Squirrel Girl, you don't have a super easy time one-shotting her, and she does a lot of damage. She can really dump on you and just make your life a living hell sometimes. Hawkeye is also a really annoying one because he can track you while you're coming out of your portal. I had a really bad take on him in my tier list where I was like, oh, he's not that big of a deal, but after climbing the ranks a bit more and dealing with it more often, it is pretty problematic. Characters like Storm and Iron Man are not your best friends. While you'll see the crazy clips of people killing them out of the sky, it's not always going to work that way, especially on these really, really well-endowed players that have played them for a long time. I've already made this a long video, and I will have more explaining further, but for those of you new, I would really love, if you liked this video, that you would go ahead and subscribe. We're getting pretty close to 10,000 subs on YouTube, and I am super grateful for all of you, and I appreciate it, and I love every single one of you. I hope this is a much better version of the video that we had already gone over, and with all that being said, I'm going to get out of your ear. Love ya. See you later. Bye.